Can you beat Valheim with no map and no portals? Alright, with the swamps in my behind, both literally and figuratively, thank you Taco Bell, it is now time to look forward to the mountain biome. A very lucky bone mass spawn resulted in a very efficient and quick completion of the biome. Knowing that there is a massive mountain on my home continent that will most likely have a bunch of silver nodes, I'm feeling very hopeful about this biome as well. But that will ultimately depend on how long it takes me to find Motor. But before I start coming around the mountain, there is a side project I decide to work on. Side projects that break up the monotony of just zerging from biome to biome. Building in Valheim has always been one of my favorite aspects of the game, and I enjoy taking on what can only be described as mega projects. It's a little ambitious in a playthrough with a standard resource rate, and with no portal to easily transport from farm site to construction site, but ambitious is my middle name. Actually, it's Shelby. During my sailing, I noticed that the waters between the main continent and this small meadow island are very shallow. Shallow enough to where I should be able to build a bridge across. Looking towards the future, I still want my main base connected to the mainland, because I always want to be close enough to the sacrificial stones to be able to swap through the powers I need without too much travel time. But I also want to be in a position convenient enough for traveling. Looking at this island, if I can connect it to the mainland, it should be the perfect place for a long-term base. It brings my base closer to the continent that has the merchant. Also, I still don't know the size of this continent, so there may be potentially more there. With open waterways to the north and south, it should also be relatively convenient for ocean travel, of which there is going to be a lot more in the future. With that in mind, I decided to put the hundreds of extra iron I had farmed from the swamp to the test. I find the closest point I can between the mainland and the island and begin building. Iron beams have an insanely long range. It's a time-consuming process, but increasingly satisfying seeing the product of your work and planning coming to fruition in front of your very eyes. During the construction, it starts to storm, and incredibly, it actually helps. I simply rose with the waters when it washed over my bridge, and in many cases, the water level decreased with the roaring of the waves, allowing me easier access to place my support poles directly on the ground. Before long, I had reached the island, and this is the final result. I still had a few iron left over, but not much. I'm not intending to move my base there yet. The majority of my mountain progression will be spent on this side of the bridge. But this project was a nice break from the grind and will serve me for the rest of the playthrough. But now it's time to look ahead. I have 3 steps/goals I want to accomplish in the mountains, along with a potential bonus goal. First, mine a butt ton of silver. I love the silver armor. I love the Draugr. I love the Frostner. I really love the silver stuff, and I want it all. So, I need to mine a ton of silver. Number 2, getting the Fenris armor. Do I need to explain why? Well, here's why. It gives movement speed, and in case you haven't picked up on it yet, I have to run f***ing everywhere. It would be nice to have. And third, find Motor, take her head. Because as my dad used to say, after a long day's work, those tears aren't going to shed themselves. My bonus goal is to tame a 2-star wolf and make an army. Not needed for the challenge to succeed, but still really cool to have. I begin exploring the mountain and find that this place is definitely loaded. For being a frozen wasteland, it sure is populated with things that want to do nothing but kill me. Stone golems are everywhere, and while they aren't a problem when I pop the bone mass ability, the problem is that I seem to run into them way more often when the power is on freaking cooldown. I find the broken down ruins of an old cabin, which so happens to be right next to a silver deposit. It's a bit of a fixer-upper, but the best way to fix a fixer-upper is to fix it up with love, elbow grease, and the corpses of trees. It also has some onion seeds, which is simply just dandy, as the French say. So begins the long process of mining. The mining itself is no big deal. What is a big deal is all the freaking annoying denizens of the mountains, who are all drawn to your location from what feels like a 5-mile radius. At this point in my life, the screech the drakes give when they first aggro you is like nails on a chalkboard. All I hear when I stumble across a video of some 38-year-old white chick who identifies as the self-appointed spokesperson for the trending minority of the day is the sound of that damn drake echoing on repeat. With enough silver to craft the gear that I need to no longer rely on frost-resistant meads, I head back, craft some gear, and head back to the mountain again. My arrival back at the mountain begins with being greeted by a hunting party, only I'm the hunted. There is a trick to dealing with this. If you place down a workbench and have some spare stone and a hoe in your inventory, you can quickly build yourself an indestructible pillar, with the wolves being unable to do that. The problem is that it's best done before they are already on top of you, which is not the case for me. After failing miserably and getting bit a few times, I decided that the best course of action is to find my corner, pop bone mass, and hold my ground. I popped the ability, drew my mace, and proceeded to play the most violent game of King of the Rock ever recorded, in Valheim. Like moths to the flame, the insatiable hounds of hell fell before the bonks of my bad boy stick. Seriously though, they just freaking kept coming. Eventually the hunt was over, and the disgruntled little kids picked up their toys and went home, not wanting to play anymore, as I was hounding the rock all to myself. Needless to say, that single event produced all of the wolf pelts and meat I'll ever need. Another win in the name of progress. You see, progressing in the mountain biome is about as basic as it gets. You mine a lot. Not the most immersive or engaging of methods. The caves update really was a godsend to the biome, adding not only an alternate armor but also some much needed variety. My only problem with caves is how sparse they are, but that is for later in the video. For now, we dig, and mine, and dig. This dig is only broken by the need to return home and harvest onions, as I still need a ton of those. By this point, the run takes about 4.5 minutes if running in a straight line. So every time I go back to harvest, I take as much silver as I can carry, to craft pieces, one by one. In a stroke of luck, there ended up being 3 silver nodes right by this fixer-upper cabin. To say I feel blessed is an understatement. Not only did my favorite e-girl streamer shout out my name when I donated the max amount my mom's credit card would allow, but I actually got to pose with her in an awkward photo, followed by a confusing message she posted online that to anyone else appears to be a friend zone shutdown worthy of the front page of the godless website known as Reddit. But to me, it looks like she is just playing hard to get, man, because none of you understand the depth of our relationship. You don't see the subtle facial expressions she says when she mentions my name compared to saying the others' names. You wouldn't see them because they are so subtle, not even she knows she is making them. I continue to mine, and continuously interrupted by spammers reaching out concerning my car's extended warranty. For the last time, I already purchased an extended warranty last month, and it cost way more than I was led to believe. Before long, my fixer-upper cabin is surrounded by craters that rival my friend Gilbert's acne scars. I can say that confidently because since high school he's gone into tech, and is now way f***ing richer than me. The funniest thing about his life is that he's the living embodiment of that meme of the nerdy kid who was ignored by the pretty girl in school he had a massive crush on, became super successful after school, and was DM'd by her a few months ago, and yes, she's a pregnant single mom. And even more yes, her kids aren't white. They are Asian, which makes sense because she is also Asian. Having completely mined several nodes around the cabin, I have a bunch of silver needing to be sent home, as the small amounts I was taking during my farm breaks was negligible. But I decided to explore the mountain a little more first and make a discovery that truly wetted my whistle. My starting continent, with its massive Double D mountain, had a motor spawn. If bone mass had been handed to me on a silver platter, then motor had been chewed, mushed up, and poured right down my throat while I leisurely sat on my ass watching American Dad. The 4th boss is right here, like a South American dictator just begging to be taken in the middle of the night. Knowing where the boss is simplifies my mission, and I know what I need to do to cross the finish line. Get a heap load of silver back to the base, smelt it up, make cool stuff. Now the real question facing me at this point is the same dilemma I face every morning when I have my daily sit down with John. How am I supposed to get this absolute load of down the mountain? Thankfully, I had a proposed solution that had been cooking in my 2-celled brain, an idea so simple that it had already been used multiple times. The strategy is 2 words: gravity, cart, fall. I build a cart on the edge of a rock, run back and forth from the cart in my fixer-upper cabin, loading up all the silver ore I have. My cart then gets stuck because it's now heavy as I destroy it, build it closer to the edge, load it up with silver again, and give it a tender nudge. Seeing things fall really does make Monkey happy. But there is now an even bigger problem. You see, the bottom of this mountain isn't the meadow biome, it's a gully. So I have to haul that stuff up and down the gully, destroy the cart, rebuild the cart at the top of the gully, fill the cart up again for the 3rd time now, and then begin the long process of hauling it back to base. It takes me all day and all night to get that blinking cart back to base. Looking back, I think I would rather just haul it in smaller bundles I can carry and run with, because that distance is just too far for a cart. But I do, and the rewards are precious to me. While progressing through the mountain biome is basically just mining silver, as it turns out, you need an absolute boatload of it if you want to craft and upgrade all the silver pieces. Wanting to have upgraded armor, Draugr Fang, Frostner, shield, and the silver sword requires a heap of silver. So despite the fact I made a lot of progress with silver I have, it's not enough. So I head back, find more nodes, mine said nodes, and have a new strategy for getting all this ore down to the base. At another time and another place, I would have built a bridge across this gully, but I don't have the iron for it, so we simply run. I place some chests on the meadow side of the bridge, fill them up with silver, empty my inventory, and proceed to run back and forth. It took a while, so here it is, sped up. After several rounds of smelting and farming past, I was now fully geared and loaded with food. The one thing I didn't do was upgrade the silver sword to its highest tier, because that bling ain't worth the sting. I head back to the mountain, decide to clear the cave before I take on Motor. I really do like caves. My only problems are how sparse they are and the abysmal drop rate for the cultist trophy. Like, I can see it right there on the NPC. Let me take it. Maybe if there were more cultists in each cave I would be fine with the drop rate, but it really does stink. I get some fur and crystals from the cave, but nothing to write home about, so I head back, repair my gear, and head back to take on the Mother of Dragons. There were plenty of nests for me to harvest eggs from. I wish I could say I got some cool shots fighting her, because thematically the fight is quite epic. Sadly, getting up close, only to have her push me away every time she hit, made trying to get in her face very difficult, especially on a slope. So instead I pulled out the Old Faithful and just shot her to death. 10 minutes later, and the Mother of Dragons was dead, and I successfully beat the mountain biome with no map and no portals. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like and subscribe. If you didn't enjoy the video, please be sure to dislike and subscribe so that you can continue to hate watch. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace!